Hello, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and put this live. You get a Feral Kyle jump scare for today. Let's get this into the chat. Let's get this into here. Going to do my ad everyone's. How's everybody doing? It's been a minute since the Bugapalooza, and I'm still in many ways recovering. Oops, that is too much orange juice. Trying to relax, and by relax, I mean doing a ton of gardening and socializing, and I need a vacation from the vacation. Oh, boy, does it taste good. So I've just been outside doing yard work. Geez, yesterday a little bit. Today, I had a plant day with some. Thank you, Alarm. A plant day with some friends on Friday, where we drove to. We were supposed to go to so many places, and we only ended up going to 4-ish. So, but we got all kinds of good stuff. And so now I'm here to hopefully recoup some of those funds. But then also afterwards, my friend Joe got me into what did he send me? Oikos tree crops. I guess they're no longer an open nursery for that stuff. They sell mostly seeds now, or they closed the nursery part of the operation. So they're doing it's like a very large minimum order for some of their special stuff in the back rooms. And one of those things is a mix of perennial food potatoes. Is there going to be a midstream intermission for Thai food again? No, we're going right through. This will hopefully only take about an hour and a half. Oh, I'm so dehydrated. Hello, TJ. So anyways, the Oikos perennial cold tolerant, viral tolerant, heavy producing potato pack was, I think, $250 shipped roughly. And that was on top of how much I spent garden shopping. But the perennial potato thing is like, hopefully once I have them, I'll never need to get them again. And Joe and I are actually going to split that. Joe has contributed some plants to help offset those costs as well. Joe has a nice collection of permaculture and native things as well down the street. And there's things from yours truly. So we got a lot of different stuff. You'll be able to see what you're actually bidding for. I have X Max. Oh, okay. I've decided that this auction is going to have the energy of a substitute teacher on like the last month of school when she knows she could have retired 5 to 10 years ago, but she decided to keep working because she thought she might be bored if she retired, but she's really second guessing her decision to stick with being a substitute teacher. So I will try to get Latin names for things. There's not going to be a lot of info put into the bidding thing itself. You're going to have to listen or ask questions later for additional information. So I'll put actual plant baggie values are shown in the live stream. Bidding begins. All right. So first up, we have a group of, it's like 5, and some stuff is 5 with minimal roots. Divisions of Helianthus X Maximiliani. I think that's how I spell it. There will be things that will just be common names too, just because of the energy I'm coming at this with. Starting bid of $1. So this is if anybody has seen my my live streams in the fall, usually I go visit this big plant that was at my neighbor Karen's place. It's a hybrid sunflower that is clump forming. It forms a clump. It doesn't mean it doesn't spread, but it's a clump. Maximilian hybrid, and it just gets completely smothered with flowers in like late September, early October. It's always a treat to see. I will answer some questions in the live stream about stuff. Let's see. Anybody want beetles into you, Mordax scorpion female, says TJ with stuff he's finding in California. No rules. Oh, all the rules are in the should be in the live stream description. I don't have Discord Nitro, so I'll let me just post all the rules. We're gonna just do this. We'll do it in the middle of the bidding and pinning. Pin message. Blah, blah, blah. All right, we got rules. They're pinned. Did I pin that one already? That's pinned. That's pinned. Can I not pin this one? Pin message. All right, BG says 1. Here's an X. Yeah, we won't take too long with all this stuff again. I'm supposed to be on vacation, guys. I just figured for some of these things, it was either I have so much of it, I might as well make some of it available, or I was going to weed it anyways. So, all right, going once, going twice, sold. BG with a winning bid of 3. I'm just realizing that this means that I have to make an Excel sheet for this. Oh, I am in such a low gear. Let's see. Where's all my auction stuff? Just save this to the desktop. We haven't done a plant auction before now that I think about it. On this X and million I. Winning bid of 3, winner BG. Okay, congrats BG, the first winner of the first ever Roach Crossing plants only auction. Congrats. All right, I got something really good here. We have there's 3 individual plants. You could divide them more if you wanted, of Geranium maculatum. And these are special because they popped up as seed in my vegetable garden, and I have Geranium maculatum from both Michigan, from a bunch of places in Michigan, as well as from West Virginia. And the West Virginia ones are taller and the flowers are darker purple. So all those genes are just mixing around in my yard. So who knows what could actually be in these as far as that. But just a nice Midwest native wildflower, and it's got the flowers on it. When you get whoever's bidding, if you're even listening here, you may have to just completely like cut all the foliage off of all these when you receive them. They're shipping out this week. Just get them in the ground as soon as possible for the stuff that has foliage on it. Maybe give it a trim. It's early in the season, so everything should be pretty good. There's some stuff that's just completely hacked back, and that's literally just like a bare root. So, but this is I'm not expecting billions of dollars here. Although maybe there's a couple things that might be worth some more. Here's an X for the Geranium maculatum. Oh, that's so refreshing. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Redmond with a winning bid of 12. Not bad. Great. Oh, I should not have tossed those so early. To Redmond. I think there's probably 40, 50 items. All right, we have two cut back dead resistant. What is the Latin name for American elm? Ulmus americana. I'm out of practice. These are Dutch elm resistant. Excuse me, Gato. Excuse you and excuse me. I'm going to need to close my door because I have people, little fellows doing plant shenanigans in here. Can't be messing with the product. Now, what was I saying? Oh, back to the live stream. They're a menace. They're everywhere, causing me problems. What kind of plants are these going to be? Says Colin 30. It's mostly Midwest native things and permaculture plants. So kind of two different ends of the spectrum. Sometimes there's some overlap though. So these are them. Just they're maybe 2-ish years old. Bare root. American elms are pretty weedy when they're not affected by Dutch elm disease. So, but these are from, I had one big tree over on the side of my house that I cut down for more sun and whatnot. And then I have another huge one along my driveway. No foliar issues or anything. They're both of them are old trees, and these seedlings have been very vigorous. So, DED resistant. All right, here's an X. Some interest in Dutch elm resistant American elms. I was hoping there'd be some of that. So also look at how nice and clean I got the roots on all these. Everything's been blasted with the hose. So yeah, it did a good job. Okay, going once, going twice. Sold. To Ugh Fine. Oh, Ugh Fine. I didn't know you had plant interests. Nice thing about American elms is you can coppice them too. They do really well coppiced, and you can farm question mark and comma butterflies on them. Ooh, we have here's a permaculture-y thing. We have one Ribes X Pixwell. Starting bid of $1. Apparently, some states still have bans on gooseberries. To American elms. To Ugh Fine. And Pixwell gooseberry. So this is gooseberries. This is a rust-resistant, disease-resistant, blah blah blah, vigorous. Thorn, or I guess it's not thornless, but they've got they're not very strong thorns. Like it's not like a wild gooseberry, but this is like the go-to, and this is like bare root, but this is rooted. It was from where the plant leaned over, touched the ground, left a node, and then popped back up again. Kyle, would you be keen in taking some colony booster? I might be moving. We'll be able to keep a good chunk of bugs. Oh, I don't like to add to my colonies. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it after the auction. Here's an X. If you want gooseberries, this is a good one. I'm fantasizing about the day I have enough gooseberries and I don't eat them fresh off the bush to make gooseberry wine, because I think it would be really tasty. It'd be a very tasty wine indeed. So, all right, going once, going twice. Sold. Looks like Emma's. Let's see. No, it's Ugg. Fine, Ugg. This is Amos. Yes, that is who won it. Amos. It was Ugg. Fine. With a winning bid of $5. Okay, this is going pretty good. We have our first more sizable thing here. This is a good sized plant. This should still flower this year, even though it's cut back. This should still flower this year. Agassicae nepetoides. Yellow giant hyssop. Good late August, early September flower for bumblebees. Amos said gooseberries get cooked in my state. Yeah, Pixwell's supposed to be was from North Dakota stock of stuff, I think. It's supposed to be extremely cold hardy. So if you live in a warm climate, probably not a good idea. Most of these are not warm climatey plants. There's a couple tropical things that I swiped from Joe's greenhouse that will go up here. So spoilers, we do have some whatchamacallits. We do have some fig cuttings and whatnot going up for grabs. Here's an X for the Agassicae nepetoides. So, but yes, we will have a couple of tropically things. A little too early for me to be putting out some of my tropical stuff, like in terms of making available. Ooh, I got a nifty little mix of natives we'll do next. Most baggies are just one thing, but not all of them. Okay, going once on the nepetoides. Going twice. Sold. BG with a winning bid of 2. Maybe one of the lowest winning bids in roach crossing history, other than the negative bids that happened that one time. Okay. We have one silene, one barely silene regia, one lactuca species. Forget which one might be tall, but is native to Michigan. And one, is it Euthymia graminifolia? Graminifolia. All right. This is a bag with a mix of a couple of natives in it. Silene is pretty, and this is barely rooted, but it's just I took a division off the plant and I didn't dig out a bunch of the roots, so it's basically like if you can see it here, it's basically like a heel cutting. It shouldn't have any problems like propping. Like it's basically rooted, but it just doesn't have, you know, like the lactuca or the euthymia has all these fibrous roots on it. So the lactuca is actually edible. It's a short-lived perennial, but you could manage it to do harvest off of it. I've eaten the leaves in the early spring, and they're good. They taste like lettuce. The problem is the second it starts to get warmer outside, it starts to bitter up as it makes more of the latex stuff. So. All right, here's an X for the little grab bag. The little natives grab bag. Going once. Going twice. Sold. 2, might be Stankosaurus, but could be It's a Breeze. It's Stankosaurus with a winning bid of 7. And now it's interesting. I get information on who's into plants here. Winning bid of 7. and also what type of plants they like. All right, we are slowly making back how much I have spent over the weekend. Not even over the weekend, over the last couple of days. All right, this is a great one. Midwestern Burmese people, permaculture, and native people. You're going to want this one. Ah, geez. What is the genus for this? All right, there we go. We have a baggie with several plants of several Hydrophyllum virginianum. This is a member of the borage family. It is a native, not spring ephemeral, but it's usually up pretty early in the spring. And its leaves are completely edible. In fact, I think the whole plant is edible, but mostly people focus on eating the greens and perhaps the flowers. The leaves, as with pretty much everything, get tougher later in the season. But you can always like put them in a skillet and whatnot. So this is a great permaculture. Does well in standard garden soils in the Midwest. I've been eating a good amount of this when I make my little spring skillets. So here it is for all of you lovely people. It also has very pretty flowers for those of you who are into that. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Chris Sniper. Chris Sniper. I'm so out of practice and my hands are broken up from the Palooza. I can't even write Chris Sniper on the bag with a winning bid of $6. Virginia water leaf, $6. Chris Sniper. Okay. All right, next up we have a really weird mixture of edible things. Really weird one. We have... Which one is that? Oh. We have one clump of Viola sororia, 2 over wintered cold seed, Phaseolus coccinea, and a couple scraps Mentha X arvensis banana mint. Starting bid of $1. So just these are all kind of staple things in my herb/veggie garden. I have violets all over the place because I love them so much. So this is just my basic old yard violets, which I find have more of a deep purple flower. Like the ones that were naturally occurring in the neighborhood have more of a deep purple flower than the ones I usually see in lawns, which have a lighter purple. These scarlet runner beans are from seeds that overwintered outside and germinated and started germinating maybe like 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago when it was cold. So these people trying to breed for cold hardiness and push zones, if you're in a warmer zone, there's a chance that maybe you would get more abundant self-sowing and or the plants have better hardiness of the coccinea. So scarlet runner bean is excellent permaculture plant, even though it's a tender perennial. It's a heavy producer, very little care, very little maintenance, etc. So when I move, I'm going to have a lot of scarlet runner bean. And finally, banana mint. It's just banana mint. It's I think it's an arvensis hybrid, and it has purple, nice little purplish, light purple flowers, and it smells like bananas, which is weird. All right, here's an X for that. Oh, so good, hydrating. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Amos with the up. Amos beating out Chris Sniper with a winning bid of 6. Chris, you wait. Yep, yes, yep, slow. Amos, so close. I think there might be more banana mint, and there are some more Viola Sororia, but like cultivars coming up, which I am also very fond of. Okay, let's do this. We have 3 and some runners. Fragaria, Vesca, North American. Genotype, starting bid of $1. Ever bearing strawberries. And for those of you, there's a little bit of chatter about wanting the mints. I like to collect the native Canada mint, and then I've been looking for really, really weird other varieties of mint. I just got Nile mint and Chinese mint in, so maybe I'll have some of those up for grabs eventually. So no pawpaws. There might be a couple of shrubby things in here. It's hard to. The elms, I just was like, I felt bad. Like I was gonna pull them from the vegetable garden and just like pitch them somewhere. And I was like, I'll see if anybody wants them because they are resistant. Okay, here's an X. These are ever-bearing strawberries. These are the North American ones. The European ones, I believe, are the Palearctic ones, form a clump. And the North American ones behave more like Virginiana with the runners and all that stuff. But they do produce the edible strawberries. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Could be It's a Breeze, could be Chris Sniper. Chris is getting into the last second there, maybe. Let's see. It's a Breeze with a winning bid of 5. It's a breeze. $5. I think shipping for this, if you don't hit the $100, is going to be. I'm not going to charge a handling cost. I'm just going to do the raw shipping cost. It'll probably be like, unfortunately, in this economy, $15 to $20 is how much you can expect. So, all right, we have one Matukia Struthiopterus, starting bid of $1. We have a edible fern, ostrich fern. This is one of the larger genotypes also. So it's edible. This one's done pretty well in my yard, even though I have dry, sandy soil. I started it in like a bin filled with soil, so the soil would always stay super moist. And it started to creep out of that into the surrounding dry, like sandy soil, and is doing well. So Struthiopterus, edible classic ostrich fern. Here's an X for that. Next up, we got a permaculture thing coming up. We got a good permaculture thing. A great standard permaculture thing. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To BG with a winning bid of $4. Congratulations. Again, I really like it. Who can say they've had a fiddlehead and didn't like it is my question. All right, we got like maybe five large bulbs of I'm just going to use a common name. Walking Onion. Jefferson's Monticello Estate, starting bid of $1. So these are walking onions that came from think it's pronounced Monticello. Thomas Jefferson's Monticello estate. So here they are. Here's the big old baggie full of them. Some of them are trying to set their little things to make top sets this year. I don't know if they're going to make it through shipping, but you will at least have maybe if they do it over like later in the summer, they try to make more top sets. But so yeah, great permaculture standard here. You'll never need onions again if you plant walking onions. And of course, a little bit of our national history with this line being Monticello. Thank you. Being of historic origin. Very easy plant to grow also for those of you with brown thumbs. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Amos with a winning bid of 11. Amos really wanted these. Fine. No. I think there's one more baggie, I think, of these. What is that? Amos. There's one more baggie of just walking onions, and then there's a weird combo that has like one walking onion that I didn't pack with the other ones in it. So there's at least two more double period cancels it out. All right. This is next up. We have 3 large clumps Viola Sororia. Red center. White outer variety. Starting bid of $1. Let me see if I can find a picture. Viola Sororia. Center white. I really love my viola cultivars. I don't think this is from seed from my friend Mike's place, so I don't think this line actually has a name. But maybe if I look up red and white, it's not very common. Oh, my lower back. Oh, this is close. This is close, but the color's a little off, similar to this. So violets, amazing permaculture plant, edible year-round. Every part of the plant is edible. Native plant, host plant for all kinds of butterflies and moths and whatnot. Great thing to fill in spaces between rows. It takes soil compaction. It takes poor soil. It takes all kinds of stuff. It's more red on mine. Is there a flower I can point to? Oh, it also has a mix of a couple of has a few standard Viola Sororia mixed in. So most of these clumps here is the that red centered with the white outer petals variety. And then because I grow violets freaking all over the place, there are a couple of just the standard, like my yard Sororia mixed in here, but 95% of this bag is that other variety. And it seems to bloom a little bit earlier than my other yard violets do. I wouldn't say that. Wouldn't bet my life on that. All right, here's an X for these guys. Again, great to toss in with other stuff. A perennial, native, unkillable, pretty native. I'll say native 5 times in a row if I have to. Vegetable. What more could you ask for? Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Stankosaurus with a winning bid of 6. The winning bid of 6. Okay. Next up we have Some say this is used medicinally. I will not use it medicinally, but we have, Jesus, it's like 3+ Asarum Canadense, starting bid of $1. Canada wild ginger, member of the birthwort family. Supposedly you can grow it medicinally, and I think maybe it was steeping it in hot water gets rid of the potentially like weird carcinogenic compounds or something like that. I don't know. I use it as a ground cover, and I like the little flowers. There might be a flower in here somewhere. Yeah, here's a couple very typical flowers of the birthwort family here. Little mauve things with an interesting shape. Another one up here, right up there. Cool Kid says Monticello is a good place. The gift shop has lots of seeds straight from the Jefferson Gardens. Got bird pepper seeds from there that I will plant one day. Awesome. Yeah, I've never actually been there. Those came from some other seller online who I assume had gotten them from there. All right, here's an X for the Asarum Canadense. Let's see. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Chris Sniper with a winning bid of 4. Excellent. Not used to having baggies of stuff. I keep tossing them. Chris Sniper. All right, next up we have 3 Rudbeckia Triloba, starting bid of $1. These should flower this year. They're cut back, but they should flower this year. And if you kept cutting them back, you might be able to force them to not flower this year, but I would not recommend that. I would get these in the ground, and they should flower this year. Usually August, September, October, really depends on a ton of factors. But I've had flowering as early as maybe even late July. And I've had flowering as late September. Really depends on a lot of things. Fimadams wants bugs. I'm on break. I'm on vacay. I'm doing unrelated to bugs things, sort of. All right, here's an X for the Trilobas. We have a nice ornamental cultivar coming up soon of a native, Eastern U.S. native. Going once on the Triloba. Going twice. Sold. Looks like either Chris or Amos. Let's see. It is Chris with a winning bid of 6. To Chris Sniper. With a winning bid of 6. Chris seems to have woken up. Woken up. You can tell how poorly socialized I am right now, too. Let's see. Lysomachia. Atropurpurea. No, not loosestrife. Yes, Lysomachia ciliata. Lysomachia ciliata. Purpurea. Or is it purpurea? Yes, it is purpurea, looks like. Variety purpurea. Fringed loosestrife, okay. And it's 3 plants. Starting bid of $1. Okay. This is the purple fringed loosestrife, an Eastern/Midwest U.S. native. And this is the purple leaf form. So you get some nice contrast between the foliage and the flowers. pretty vigorous. It will take moist soils and is usually found in moist soils in the wild, but in cultivation, it seems to be just fine anywhere that's not extremely dry. So it's not a difficult plant to grow by any measure. Good deer resistance, heat deer resistance, etc. Maybe some pictures might help. Very easy plant to grow. We'll swipe one off of Google Images. I like it. I have a good amount of it. I have a nice patch of it in the front in my purple garden. The yellow does look kind of weird in the purple garden, but I give it a pass because of the foliage. All right, here's an X for that. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To BG with a winning bid of $1. All right, BG, you got a very nice baggie full of purple fringed loose strife for $1. I think that was a good deal. It's lower than Etsy salespeople's prices for sure, I think. All right, next we have. What is in here? Those flowers are tragic. Why are they tragic? 3 barely rooted Rubus X, probably Moderata, and 1 tiny Tukia Struthiopteris. Starting bid of $1. Okay, this is it's a thimbleberry or thimbleberry hybrid. I don't know because they grade together, but it's a good. It's one of the rubuses I tried to use for feeding bugs, and bugs don't like it. So get that out of your head. However, if you have like actual livestock type animals, this is a good grower even in heavy shade. And livestock, guinea pigs, rabbits, goats, anything that eats foliage really, really likes it. So it's a good forage plant for those. And then there's, again, I must have been while I was rinsing stuff off, there's a teeny tiny ostrich fern with roots in here too. So you get a free little tiny ostrich fern too. All right, here's an X. Don't let the barely rooted scare you guys. Throw $1 bid out there and see what happens. I'm gonna put that to the side. Oh, this is a good one. We'll do this big one next. No, don't do the negatives. Thank you, Amos. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Exotic Wilderness with a winning bid of $2. $2 to EW to you. All right. Next we have one Silphium perfoliatum starting bid of $1. Starting bid. We got a big cup plant root here. It should not flower this year. If it did, I'd be very surprised. But next year it should be a monster. So big old chunky cup plant root here. Nice, big, vigorous pieces. You could even divide it up a couple more times if you wanted to make a little clump of it. But it's a good guy. I love me some Silphiums. Love them very much. -10, -9. Somebody bid 1. Thank you, Exotic Wilderness. Here's an X for Exotic Wilderness. Kristen Exotic Wilderness, Kristen Mason. I guess I can say Mason because his name's right there. Going a little back and forth for this. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Exotic Wilderness with a winning bid of 8. And lower than standard retail value. I'm going to save a couple of those very special things for last. Put the specialists. Still have a couple special things scattered throughout. All right. Next up, we have one mystery Master Gardener fern. Might be a dwarf ostrich fern. Starting bid of $1. So this was when I was growing up. My parents' neighbor was a master gardener, and she had some very good coverage of fern beneath her Carpathian walnut tree in her backyard. And I don't know what it is. I don't see fertile fronds from it, and that would be pretty diagnostic, like my ostrich ferns put up. But it could just be a weird, mostly vegetative line of ostrich fern because there is a groove in the stem, but it doesn't get as big as the other as the ostrich ferns that I have. It maybe gets to about 1.5 feet tall maximum. It's very small. Again, it could end up being an ostrich fern variety, but she moved out of there a long time ago, and the yard turned into a lawn and blah blah blah. But I had grabbed this before that happened, and I planted a bit of it in my backyard. Now I have it near my fire pit area, so it's good in dry shade as well. But maybe somebody someday could figure out what it is. But yeah, again, I don't know what it is. If you're in the Midwest and you have a shady area and your soil's dry or you've got walnuts or whatever over it and you're looking for something to fill that space, you could try using this. Again, I could be a dwarf ostrich fern for all I know. It kind of behaves like one, but it just doesn't seem like my other ostrich ferns. So we have an X. Would anybody like to claim it? I see Ugfine is typing. Anybody want the mystery fern? BG says 1. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To BG. Winning the mystery fern for $1. For those of you who have been heavy spenders at this auction, it may be worth it to hike up some bids if you get close to 100, so you won't have to pay shipping. Okay, who's this? All right, we have 3, 4, 3 plus Helianthus. I painstakingly keyed this out so that this is what this is. Helianthus Stramosus Ann Arbor, Michigan. Starting bid of $1. This was, I got out of the car and keyed this out. It was on the edge of somebody's farm field. I think it was blooming in late September, maybe, or early October. It was a pretty weird time. Well, it wasn't a weird time of year for sunflowers, but it was actively blooming. It was eye-catching at that time, which I thought was interesting. So and I'm pretty sure it's Stramosus, but I think that they also were talking about that being a species complex. So who knows? Here's an X for these guys, but it's been pretty vigorous in my yard. Big fan of my Helianthus. I have another one that I think is supposed to be a state extirpated species. growing, but I need to key it out again because it keeps keying out to different things. It's definitely not stromosis because the stromosis is already like 1.5 feet, 2 feet high, and this other one is just barely like coming out of the ground now. So I don't know what it is. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Mason, Exotic Wilderness, winning bid of $5. Mason getting all the sunflowers. I still have more sunflowers too. And we have put at least a dent in how much I spent during my garden store hopping day. So that's nice. All right. Next up, we have Viola Sororia Red. Forma rubra. Okay. There's like three plus Viola Sororia, Forma rubra. Starting bid of $1. So this is the solid red / it's more like a deep purple, red purple violet. This is the one that has the actual solid flowers that are reddish. And here are the plants that you are bidding on. And this one's not as common in my yard. I transplanted one little plant of it like back near my fire pit, and I have been trying to keep basically that spot all this form, and it spread abundantly for a couple of years, and now it's kind of slowed down in that area. So, but I really should think about moving it into some other places too. Chickens are up to some shenanigans. I hear them outside making miscellaneous noises. All right, here's an X for these. So many people sleeping on violets. Maybe one day I'll open Violet Crossing and show all of you. I'll show you. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To might be Amos, might be Stanko. Let's see. It's Amos with a winning bid of $5 to Amos. Yes, another violet person. I love violets. I think they're a very good contender for my favorite native wildflowers. Winning bid of $5. Okay. I think more Joe's stuff is towards the bottom of this. Ooh, this is a really good one. Let's see if this genus is still valid. What is this? All right, we have 5+. Arcanthemum arcticum, starting bid of $1. This is actual Arctic daisy. I got this from somebody who was a student at, I think it was like Cornell's like plant gardens or something like that. It was either somewhere on the East Coast. And for a very short period of time, they had an eBay account, and I managed to get these from them when that was up there. So it's a semi-succulent, and it likes like well-drained soils, not necessarily dry, but it will take a lot of dryness, surprisingly. And it flowers in like mid-fall, like September-ish. It'll start flowering a little bit into October. I just thought it was so weird and cool, and that I think I got this like, oh geez, like 2015, maybe 2014, 2015. So I've had this for a while. I really like it. It's got daisy-esque flowers. Here's an X. It's just really weird, and the centers of it are like centers of the flowers are like greenish. They're not like a full-on like happy yellow. It's a very interesting plant. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Stankosaurus with a winning bid of 7. Stanko wanted the Arctic daisies. They're actually a good candidate for a rock garden plant, is what I would say, as far as how to treat them. Okay, now this, here we go. Here's something real good. We have one Helianthus. Why can't I remember the species? Oh, I feel stupid. Tuberosus. Parkville Street, Livonia. How long do the daisies bloom for? About 2 to 3-ish weeks. It's not a very long bloom period, I must admit. But it could also be because at that time of year, my front yard starts to get more shade, so they may not be getting all that they want by that time of year. We have one Helianthus tuberosus, Parkville Street, Livonia, Michigan, starting bid of $1. Wild sunchoke from my street. Has smooth, straight, sweet potato-like tubers. So this, I did a taste trial of 5 different tuberosus varieties: White Fuso, Top Star, Lola, and it's like Supernova or Hypernova or something like that. So I did. Was there one more? White Fuso, Top Star, Lola, Super or Hypernova, whatever the really big naughty one is, and then these wild ones from my street collected from Joe's backyard. Out of those 5, the best tasting ones were Lola, and even better than Lola was our wild one from here on the street. So you can't find this anywhere. Nobody's going to have this available. You have to get it from me or from Joe. And unlike there's a lot of talk about the Hypernova and whatever, they have all those knots and warbles on them or whatever that make it difficult to clean. These ones have a straight, elongated tuber that you can, if you want to skin it, you can skin it, and it's very easy to get the dirt off of it. This has some really good permaculture potential. So just a happy accident that they ended up being our wild sunchokes in the area. So get them while you can. If you're into permaculture, give these guys a try because it's really good. Like I got rid of White Fuso, I got rid of Hyper Supernova, whatever it was, and I got rid of Top Star. The only 2 that I'm gonna grow until I find another one that's good is going to be these Parkvilles. Even when I move, the Parkvilles, and then Lola. Lola was also really good. I can't remember why. I think maybe the flavor was just a little bit, but not noticeably less than the Parkville ones were. So, all right, going once, going twice, sold. 2 could be Barnacle, could be Amos. Let's see. Amos with a winning bid of 18 for the Parkville Sunchokes. Our highest bidding item yet, I think, and very worth it. Parkville Sunchoke. And what was the Arctimum? That was Stanko for 7. Okay. So Parkville thanks you. And the deer are always trying to eliminate Joe's patch of it in his yard. I asked the Jerusalem artichoke, which neither artichoke nor anything to do with Jerusalem. Feel free to throw another Parkville sunchoke up there. You're welcome to pester me Also, we're working on trying to propagate more of the Parkville ones as time goes on. It's something I'm not letting out of my clutches with how precious it is. We have one white flowered, one purple flowered iris cristata, dwarf crested iris. Is it cristata? Woodland iris, starting bid of $1. And I tried to keep track of it when I threw them into the bucket to hydrate things, and I was collecting stuff for the auction, but I honestly mixed them up. So I don't know which one of these is the purple one and which one is the white one, but I can at least say that there's only one string of each in here. So if you planted them separately, you would know next spring which one ends up being white flowered and which one ends up being purple flowered. Here, we'll put an X. Put an X for those. Nice little eastern. Whoops. XX. Nice little eastern U.S. native iris. It's pretty easy to grow. It'll take a lot of shade too. What's this? I'm curious to see what you guys are gonna do for this next one. At least tolerate wet soil. I think they prefer weller drained soils, I would say. Oh baby, wait till we get to just the straight up cuttings of stuff. Who knows how much or how little those will go for. Bog conditions, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think they will take those kind of conditions. It's more of an upland or facultative upland iris. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Might be dark Phil, but could be Stanko. Let's see. Stanko. Can we put on your ceiling fan next? Funny guy. Stanko with a winning bid of 3. I honestly thought these would go for more. So I think that's a good deal for those. The next one we have 2 Echinocystis lobata, starting bid of $1. What's the common name for this? Wild cucumber. Echinocystis lobata, also known as wild cucumber. This is a very weedy, excellent for pollinators native plant that grows like a weed and produces weird little mini loofah looking fruits. Just a weird little guy. Thank you for that. Highly recommend these. You may find these yourself already, but here's 2 in a bag if you want it. If you want to just grow them, here's 2 in a bag, ready to go, all germinated, all rocking out already. We're gonna do this other thing next. I got this over here. They were growing up next to the chicken run, and I decided to pull them because there will be many more where that came from. Oh, it's inedible. But you can make the world's smallest loofah out of it. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Og Fine. Winning bid of negative $10, which means that I owe you $10. Og Fine. The biggest negative winning bid in all of Roach Crossing history. Oh, I really don't like how Excel puts that in red. I really don't like that. Exotic Wilderness says, wait, you can actually use it as a loofah. If only I had time to put more zeros, and you should not have. Okay, we're going to do a permaculture cutting. We have 1 cutting, Rosa Satigera. EIC. large-hipped wild native rose. Selection from a very fruit from an individual with bush shape and high fruit yield. Starting bid of $1. This is one of the first plants that I actually rooted from a cutting, and it came from a wild rose that was near, and it's Rosa satigera. I keyed it out from near the organic gardens at U of M Dearborn near the EIC. And people, various staff has come and gone. There's been different plans for things and whatnot, but the hedgerow that this came up in, which was just like a wild hedgerow, was removed and cut down to make room for in my opinion, a crappy little orchard with like 3 crappy fruit trees that have never actually done anything and needed tons and tons of protection from deer and that just suck. And so I'm a little bitter about that. But they removed this giant Rosa satigera that was there, and it would always be just completely smothered in fruit. So it is Michigan genotype. There's a wild population like a couple 100 feet away in like a swampy area. I've keyed out to satigera, and this is from that individual. So it has formed a more bushy shape over time. I would recommend helping to shape it to get it there so you do get even better fruit set. How are the red tuberosa doing? It hasn't come up yet. My Asclepias tuberosa hasn't come up yet. Every year I'm afraid it's going to die. So this year I'm really going to work on propping it and getting some probably to you and then some over into Joe's yard in a super sunny spot so it will actually like set fruit more often. So, but anyway, so that's my pitch for this. I think this is a good permaculture project. Rosa satigera, they're not hard to root. This is it's a greenwood, softwood cutting, and you got a little bit of the node of right where it connects to last year's wood right there. So this should be, if you rooted anything in your life, this should be easy. Here's an X. Did this sales pitch on the stream. So one day you'll see Oikos will have this for sale for $150 for a yearling plant, and everybody will be kicking themselves and coveting it because they did not know. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Barnacle with a winning bid of 3. Maybe for future plant auctions, I should get rid of the negative thing because I'm afraid that I could come to do a plant auction and it ended up being paying other people to take my plants, which would not encourage me to do this again, I must emphasize, but okay. We have one Artemisia ludoviciana and one unidentified, possibly undescribed Monarda species, Briceville, Tennessee. Starting bid of $1. This might be smoke hole Monarda. Alan was looking at it and trying to figure out what it was, but he was not sure because the foliage, I guess, looks a lot like it's not fistulosa, or if it is a fistulosa, it's something real weird. So it might be Monarda brevis, but Monarda's getting a lot of taxonomic work done to it lately, so it may currently be undescribed. But the foliage has, this is a pretty good picture. The foliage has a tint of purple to the veins, especially earlier in the year. and it is cold hardy. And of course, Artemisia luteoliciana artemisia is used as a medicinal plant. I've never used it for anything like that, but it's also, I think it's state endangered in Michigan. So, all right, here's an X for this. A weird combination, but I just felt like doing it. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Amos with a winning bid of $4. Hooray. Oops, got right that in red. Winning bid of $4. We have some other interesting Menardas coming up later also. I really don't like how Excel is showing that number in red. It makes me feel bad. Makes me feel sad. Let's do a fig cutting, actually. We have one greenwood cutting ficus phenomenal starting bid of $1. All right, we have a phenomenal fig, which I think is a selection of Chicago Hardy. Came from Joe's greenhouse. He's been growing. He's got some real cool stuff coming out of that greenhouse soon. Some never before seen things developed by Joe completely accidentally. So here it is. It's about, I don't know, like a foot and then some greenwood here, and fig cuttings. I've never actually rooted a fig cutting. I've never like had a reason to, but fig cuttings apparently root stupidly easily. So this is basically a plant. Any carnivorous plants today? I don't think so. I don't work a lot with carnivorous. If it's phenomenal, you might be able to. I think if it's a sport of Chicago Hardy. Yeah, it is. It's a dwarf branch mutation of Chicago Hardy. So you can actually keep it outside in Michigan year round. It should be in the ground if you're keeping it outside, and it will do best up against the foundation. But Joe has, I think, 3 or 4 fig varieties in the ground. The problem with it being in the ground, though, is depending on the variety, and Joe's run into this problem with his varieties, when they're in the ground, they leaf out late and they try to fruit on new wood, and usually the crop doesn't mature before we get a frost. So when I've grown figs, I've always done container and just kept it in the garage over the winter and then put it out in like April or something. And I've had no problems getting a mature crop by like late August. So, but yes, as a sport of Chicago Hardy, this is, I'm lying. This is fine. As a sport of Chicago Hardy, this is one of the, if not like the most commonly recommended, like high cold tolerance fig varieties. But I would still put it in a container and give it winter protection. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To, looks like Amos or Barnacle. Now this is looking more like an auction here. To Amos with a winning bid of 10. Also, everybody, if you could contact me as soon as possible, ideally like tonight after we finish this auction with your wins and whatnot, or with just to touch base to do this, so I can get all this out tomorrow. That'll ensure that it is as happy as possible, arrives in as best as possible shape to you. All right, next we have a Desmodium canadense. I think this is canadense, or it's something else native that's similar to canadense. One Desmodium. Desmodium CF canadense. Starting bid of $1. I gotta put the locality. It's Rochester Hills, Michigan. All of my Desmodium in my front yard are descended from a single plant that I collected in an oak forest in Rochester Hills, Michigan in 2017. This is an excellent permaculture forage plant. This is great for any sort of livestock. It's easy growing. Look at those roots. This, out of everything that I that I had to pack up today, including the elms, this was the worst to have to. I usually just use my hands when I garden, just because I like it and it doesn't disturb the soil as much. I think it's more natural way of the soil being disrupted. So I had to like dig this up by hand, and I ended up like getting my fingers around this and just like yanking it because it was in the ground so good. And this is like only a first or second year plant of this thing, but beautiful flowers, great Midwest native, excellent forage plant for livestock. What more could you want? Here's an X. Mason really getting in all of these native plants here. I love it. Ooh, we'll do another one, another plant soon with one broad application purpose and one very niche purpose that I've found. All right, going once in the Desmodium, going twice, sold. To Stanko with a winning bid of 11. Wrong utensil. Stanko sniped by Stanko. 7-11. All right. This has a very niche purpose. This is Tucrium. How many is in here? Like 3? It's like 4. 4 Tucrium canadense. Dearborn, Michigan. Woodland ecotype. Starting bid of $1. So this is from this is American or Canadian germander. It's a mint family. It's ridiculously deer resistant. It's pretty drought tolerant. In Michigan, I've noticed at least 2 ecotypes. There's a woodland ecotype that you usually find in the woods or on woodland edges, and then there's a like a dune or like coastal ecotype. So when you go to like Lake Erie marshes around Lake Erie, the shores of Lake Erie, you'll see this other ecotype of Tucrium canadense there. That one I've seen usually has like more pinkish flowers versus this woodland type is more, they're usually more purple, and they're both very vigorous. And the use that I found for them is, one, they make an excellent way to just get a native plant in deer infested spaces, so that things don't just get overgrazed and whatnot. They come up just after a lot of like spring ephemerals and stuff have finished like doing their thing, so they don't disrupt them or compete with them. Like they allow that stuff that would be harmed by deer and whatnot to establish while then filling that space with something over the summer. And finally, also this is a very vigorous plant. Some would probably describe this as weedy, but it pulls very easily. But my favorite thing, my next favorite thing, all those things are my favorite thing about it, is most livestock don't eat this or don't really seem to have a taste for it. Like my birds, ducks, chickens, rabbits, etc. don't. But guinea pigs really like it, which is very weird. It's very weird and very interesting that they will eat tons of this without getting tired of it, which is just like, this is one of those weird things that you'd have to be in just the right place at the right time to like figure out. So so when I have too much of this, when it starts popping up on the sides of the trails, I just take the loppers, I cut it back, and I throw it into the guinea pigs. And so that makes good use of it, and I don't have to put anything into it and whatnot. So I really like this. It's a weird utility plant. As I did the big pitch and Mason bids his singular dollar. There's only so many people on the server I know who are raising or who have wanted to raise guinea pigs. So maybe not the right audience for that, but now it's on the record. So it's out there. The guinea pigs like to eat Canada germander. So there's some potential interesting uses there in the future. Will there be a second phenomenal? Yes, I think there's one more phenomenal cutting somewhere. For my spoiled ass guinea pig, says ISO Puppy. Yes, excellent. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To ISO Puppy for your spoiled guinea pigs. Winning bid of $5. ISO Puppy, if you if you want, you can put it in a pot and really baby it. I don't know. It's again, I have it in the ground. It's native here, and I let it go everywhere. And back in my buckthorn and honeysuckle infested woods and deer infested woods, I will take that and every spring I'll put more rhizos of it like all around. I'll just go and bury it. I don't even bother watering or anything back there. I just bury it deep enough, and it's hard enough it'll come up. And so slowly over the last couple of years, a lot of the backwoods has become just full of the germander, and then there's pockets of other stuff, but the deer don't go really through the dense parts of the germander, so it kind of protects the pockets of the other native stuff that's coming up there that they might want to nibble on, in a way. So, all right, we have one of my favorite native plants here. Kyle said about everything. Vernonia fasciculata. EIC Pride. I'm naming this variety now. So there's back before people started to split hairs and make some distinctions about rain garden plants and whatnot was when the EIC actually put their rain garden in. So they had some stuff that was not necessarily strictly native to Michigan. Also, Vernonia is very difficult to key out. I've tried for just Gigantea mazurka, and it's really a nightmare. But anyway, so they planted prairie ironweed in there, and prairie ironweed does not get as tall as mazurka or Gigantea. I think the tallest I've ever seen it was about 5 feet versus those other ones, which can go all the way up to like 10 feet, I guess. But this plant, this individual plant of fascicularis, was it fasciculata? I keep saying fascicularis, fasciculata, has been outside the IC for years. It may not still be there. They've started changing some things around after all this time. I'm pretty sure it's still there. But I took heel cuttings of it maybe like in 2020 or something and propped this one individual that I really, really liked from there. That's very nice, dark green with a tinge of purple foliage, big, very like a ultraviolet purple flowers. Every time it was in bloom, every time I've seen it in bloom there's always a giant swallowtail or an eastern tiger swallowtail nectaring from it, just all around. For me, a very special plant. And now if I keep cloning them like this and keep calling them that, maybe more people will take interest in them. But it's a reasonable size for an ironweed. Still a larger plant, but I think it's worth it in the Midwest to have it for what it attracts. Very dry tolerant once established. Clump forming, it doesn't go run wild. It'll form a nice clump about, I think my clump's 1.5 feet maybe wide and doesn't go much bigger than that. So we'll take clay soil too. Ironweeds will take clay soils. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Laura with a winning bid of 5. Hello, Laura. Fasciculata. EIC Pride. Of course, named after the Environmental Interpretive Center. Oops, that is written in black and not in red. Laura with a winning bid of $5. We got maybe, I want to say 20 more items to go through here. And I tried to put some of my favorites off to the side. Let's see what we got next. Let's do this. I don't know the Latin for this because it's not native and I've never worked with. This is a cutting from Joe's greenhouse of longevity spinach, Guinera procumbens. So this is a tender perennial. If you guys, anybody out there is in a warmer climate, I think it should be cold hardy to like zone 8, maybe. But this is a spinach alternative. Why don't I just read the Wikipedia here? Edible vine native to a bunch of places. Its young leaves are used for cooking, such as with meat and prawns in a soup. Wikipedia, you're really not selling this for me. I've never grown this. I've nibbled on it and thought it tasted pretty good. I'm gonna grow some in a pot or just grow it as as an annual this year. I took a cutting as well for my own personal uses, but apparently this is another thing. It roots like sweet potatoes, where it's very easy to get it to root. So, if you want to try a little permaculture thing, give it a go. Maybe here's an X. If anybody wants it, put it in a pot, put it in your vegetable garden, give it a try something new. All right, going once. Going twice. It might even root in the bag. Sold. To Barnacle. Barnacle, I think you're in a climate where you can keep this outdoors year-round, maybe. Why do I have this black Sharpie here when I'm not supposed to use it? Winning bid of 3. Okay. All right, we've got a little permi pack here, a little mini permi pack. We have 3+ tubers. Chinese mountain yam. I need to double check. Let me check. I purchased some of a different variety a couple of like a month ago. This is a large bulbilled. Why can't I not pull this up on Etsy? Chinese wild yam. Polystachya. Okay. Large tuber. Large bulbil variety. And 1 Jefferson walking onion. Oh, Barnacle, you've grown it before, but something ate all of it. Well, that's good. You can try it again now. So this is again that Jefferson. There should be one more pack of like base, just the walking onion somewhere, but that guy just slipped into here again. I figured somebody with a permy person would want some. So this is, I believe it's from either Oikos or the Sustainable Seed Initiative collection it's cold hardy of Chinese wild yam, and it produces large bulbils. So you can dig up and eat the roots. I think that's on mostly older plants that they suggest to do that because of the size. But people have been selecting for varieties that produce the large aerial bulbils. So this is supposed to be one of the varieties that has the largest aerial bulbils. So basically, you just collect those off the plant and then you just cook them up as you would a root vegetable. So, and then of course I've had my saying about the Jefferson Monticello walking onions. So hey, yams and onions, make a little something out of these if you get them growing. So I was kind of surprised at how big some of these the actual tubers were when I dug them up. All right, here's an X. We've got the permaculture people weighing in now. Exactly the crowd I was hoping for. What's this guy here? Oh, we'll do a weird native bundle here, actually. Did I put an X? Yes, I did. All right. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Aiden S. with a winning bid of 19. Aiden S. I'm selectively listening. Aiden S. winning bid of 19. There that's our highest winning bid so far. Excellent. There are Michigan native wild yams too. They don't set bulbils to my knowledge, but I do know where to collect them. I would like to grow them and I would like to eat them one day, so I will do that. You wanted to eat them? That's funny. All right, we have one pasture thistle, one Cirsium discolor, Rochester Hills, Michigan, and two Monarda fistulosa. Yeah, if I know where this place is. Hoffman Trail. Is the unofficial name for the flat nature trail with one end at Mokel Road in the Waterloo Rec area. Michigan. Extreme mildew resistance. Starting bid of $1. Okay, here we go. So these are Michigan genotypes for sure from plants that I had collected. This fistulosa, again, it came from a huge marsh that's located in the Waterloo Rec area off of the Mokel, what my friend Kim was calling the Mokel Trail. But this fistulosa has the highest mildew resistance of any fistulosa I've ever seen or worked with. So maybe it will start to get smothered with mildew in like September versus other Monarda fistulosas could start looking mildewy by July. So I think maybe the fact that it was a marshy ecotype contributes to that. You germinated the fistulosa seed. That's awesome. I'm curious to see when you actually get flowers out of it. All right, here's the next. You can eat. I'm pretty sure all Cirsium species are edible. That's just also water mold resistant since March. It could be. Yeah, I have no idea though. But it was growing. To be fair, it was not actually in the water in the marsh. It was on like the bank of the marsh, like where things started to go, like the dip down towards the water. But the only reason I saw it was because it was so tall along that embankment. I was like, what is Monarda doing here? So, all right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Mason with a winning bid of 4. EW. All right. Another one of my special little finds. Okay. Here we got too many Scutularia incana. Starting bid of $1. Hoary skullcap, a great colorful native plant for shade of even varying moisture levels. Good long bloom time in summer, beautiful little flowers. And this bag is just smothered with them. Look at all these guys you get here of Scutularia incana, hoary skullcap. An excellent. This is maybe by itself it's not one of my favorite wildflowers, my favorite natives necessarily, but from a pragmatic perspective, it is an excellent thing to toss into shade to get some color to pop. Mason, they might flower first year if you took really good care of them. Fim Adams asks, any water plants? No, but if I do this again, or if I put anything up for sale over like actually into the summer proper, I'll probably swipe stuff from Joe's Pond, and I would be putting those up for grabs, including maybe some stuff that I would collect and prop from my cousin Bevy's estate if I go there in a couple weeks, or from her property out in the country. All right, here's an X for the Scutularia incana. Maybe I will start linking pictures. I don't know. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To ISO Puppy with a winning bid of 3. Well, it looks like at this rate, though it does not hold a candle to bug auctions, at least the potatoes will be paid off, which is great. For future plant auctions, I'm super interested in shrubby stuff and also oak saplings. I will keep that in mind. All right, who's this? All right, we got a great native and permaculture plant, one Rudbeckia laciniata, starting bid of $1. Just a little guy, but maybe it'll get big really fast. But just a little guy, maybe bid like, $3 to $4. I could see being reasonable for this little guy. A great Midwest native, and also I found out last year it's edible, which is great. Just tell people bugs are on the plant, free thrips and aphids. What a deal! So this is edible. Takes sun or shade. I'm curious what I could do, what potential could be dragged out of it if it were put into a vegetable garden, because it's already very vigorous as a standalone native planting plant. So if it was actually like pampered and taken care of, I wonder like what you could unlock vegetatively and whatnot. Could you get a good harvest of leaves year, almost, growing season around, etc.? I don't know. All right, there's an X for the laciniata. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Laura with a winning bid of 3. There we go. That's nice. That was good. Winning bid of $3. Makes me happy. Perfect. Okay. All right. Here's the other thing of the walking onions. I found them. 3 Jefferson walking onions. Starting bid of $1. The last batch of the Monticello estate walking onions up for grabs. Plant them and you will never have need for onions ever again, as they say. Although my patch, I think it's the soil maybe getting a little exhausted over in that area from either growing the onions, or maybe it's getting a bit too shady in that spot. So I have started to move them around. I've moved them into some sunnier spots. So sun is at a premium in my yard. In Joe's yard, it's always sunny in Joe's yard. In Kyle's yard, I only have part sun. So I do what I can, which is why I like to propagate leafy greens, because you don't need quite as much sun to do that as you do things that fruit, generally speaking. All right, here's an X for those walking onions. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Ugh Fine with a winning bid of 11. Ugh Fine, you basically got these for $1. Amos says, I learned a neat trick from Kathy Bates to keep the walking onions locked down. What is that trick? Because currently I would like the opposite. I would like to have more of them, but I do think it is a abiotic factor that is causing that. All right, we have 3 of one of the neatest but naughtiest Tradescantias. 3 Tradescantia bracteata, starting bid of $1. Now, unlike most Tradescantias, which are clumping and which may spread around places by seed, bracteata actually moves underground by, I think they would be called stolons still. I love Tradescantias. I love spiderworts, and it's a short species. It maybe gets like barely a foot tall, and it'll take pretty poor soils too. This is properly native more west and south of Michigan, more like Great Plainsy kind of areas, but it obviously does well here. So I like it, and I think the flowers are more of a, if I'm remembering correctly, more of a deep purple than Ohioensis. So yeah, they're a little bit more purpley and less of a baby blue, it would seem. So all right, here's an X for those, and it is native to the eastern U.S. Again, it's not necessarily to Michigan, but functionally, I would make an argument. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Stanko with a winning bid of 3. Ugfine asking if I do hugel. Yes, I do have a hugel mound, and it has had its ups and downs. Part of the problem is it is also located mostly in shade, but it has been very good. Oh, this is maybe a final item, because this is probably one of the coolest things available today is that. So we'll put that aside for now. Okay, we have one Carex Pennsylvanica, starting bid of $1. One little division of pen sedge. Now, something I learned from working when I worked in native landscaping is actually pen sedge is one of, if not the most expensive sedge, as far as things that are usually propagated at scale, because pen sedge is, no matter how much you try to offset it or how much you try to outcross it, pen sedge is extremely low seed set, at least in a horticultural setting. So all of pen sedge that's available is propagated asexually. It's all done by divisions of stuff. So they can't just produce a bunch of seed and then also do division, where they have to do everything by divisions. So here's an X. And this is probably from Mayberry State Park in Michigan, but I'm not going to rest on that, because I'm pretty sure that I did take a couple of plugs home when I when I worked for Drew. So it's possible that it could be from that would be wild type plant nursery stock, but I don't know. All right, going once, going twice. Sold to Laura with a winning bid of 5. And Drew would always complain about the price of pen sedge by the flat, and he was always looking for something to replace it for orders for specking stuff. All right, we have one tortured conglobulation, Tradescantia ohioensis, starting bid of $1. We have a tortured conglobulation here of Tradescantia ohioensis. This is just like you could bury the rooted end, and then like lay the rest of it down sideways and bury that, and you could like make this into a giant clump of it this year, and it would probably bloom in like September. So Tradescantias are also edible. I forgot that. Apparently every part of the plant is edible, but the sticky, oozy sap is kind of, some people like, it's mucilaginous. It's kind of off-putting to some people. But the flowers are definitely like edible and pretty palatable in the generalist sense of the word. The blue one, oops, I meant 1. Well, it's a 2 now. Why do I feel like something on my head? Might be a fly. Here's an X. You could correct your bid. You could. But yes, this is a big old baggie full of Tradescantia ohioensis. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold to Stanko. Stanko. Now I meant it. Thank you, Stanko, with a winning bid of 2. And we are getting down to our last things here. We have one more ostrich fern proper. Just again, standard ostrich fern. These came from Kim Klesiak. It's around in the bug community in some spaces as Kimix. Sent me some from her backyard. I don't know, maybe in 2020. Maybe could have even been before that, actually. Yeah, just ostrich fern, edible, makes good fiddleheads in the spring. There's an X as we try to move into our last couple. I think we're down to the last dozen things. Oh, baby. This is going to be a fun one. Maybe Mason will like that one. Ooh, I forgot that we had this too. Keep that for the dead end. We'll do that also very soon, because that may be, some may perceive to be mid. I could see somebody perceiving those to be mid. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold to Laura with a winning bid of 5. Laura becoming a powerhouse in this auction and helping to pay for Joe and I's expensive perennial potato collection. All right, we have one barnacle. Oh, shoot. Wait, it might be barnacle. Hold on 1 second here. Stop the presses. Where did I even throw whatever that was? Uh-oh. It is. It's barnacle. Oh, and I got water all over my screen somehow. Where did these fluids came from? It was barnacle for the Strudiopterus, wherever I yeeted it to. Where did I yeet it to? There it is. Okay. It's barnacle. Sorry, Laura. I'm used to things going so fast, and I'm not used to you guys tying in this particular flavor of auction here. All right, one Scutularia. Yeah, that's one. One Scutularia and Kana starting bid of $1. Maybe do like $1 to $3 for this one, guys. If anybody wants it, this is the last of the hoary skull caps. If anybody wants it, if you want some nice hoary skull caps, the last one. At this pace, could we toss up my stuff as one whole starting bid like last auction? Yeah, just Discord that to me really quick if you could write it out so that I can put that up there really quick. The Plantapalooza going as well as you thought it might? It's a little slower, and I thought there some things might be of more interest. Some things are people are definitely getting excited over, which is nice. So, but it's a first time, and I think having more permaculture stuff might be a better lure. So we'll see. All right, 2 to 3. All right, here's an X. You guys do whatever you want, though. You guys do whatever you want. If someone wants to pay like $50 for this, you go right ahead. You be my guest. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Stanko, we'll do $2. Stanko for $2. Okay, next we have, this is awesome. We have Hilo. We have 3 cuttings. Don't worry, they will. Who dares disturb me? Oh, Mark. Not right now, Mark. All right. Hylotelephium, Telephioides, Bryceville, Tennessee, starting bid of $1. This is the native species of stone crop. You usually see all of the Eurasian hybrids all over the place, like Autumn Joy and whatnot, but this is the actual North American native wild species of stone crop, and I believe it's edible. I believe. No, Mark. I will call you later. I guess Hylotelephium is edible. There's not, all members of this genus are said to have edible leaves, though those species that have yellow flowers can cause stomach upsets if they are eaten in quantity. So this isn't one of those. So I guess you can eat it. Young leaves, stems, and sometimes the tubers. Mild, slightly sweet, and succulent when young. So interesting. So you can eat it. And I thought that I knew that, but all right. Here's an X for those. Still need the native Lanistro 2 that I killed last year. I tried to prop a cutting for you, but when it got hot and then cold and then hot again, it killed the cutting. So I'm going to try it again. Once things warm up more and we get some moist weather, I'm going to do that. I'll take a greenwood cutting. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Looks like, I think Stanko's got this locked down. Let's see. Stanko for $5 winning bid. I think that's all right. $5 winning bid to Stanko. Okay, I feel like somebody might think that this is mid. One Agastiki Nepetoides, starting bid of $1. I'm pretty sure in the area along my chicken run, where I have the mulched path. Very little stuff grows there because like the chickens can peck through the fence a little bit to get at it, and I pile up a bunch of mulch along there, and also the dogs run up and back and forth along there all the time, and I walk it all the time, whatever. This is the only thing that really like came up there. Like this one Agastache popped up in that high traffic area and hasn't died yet. So, but it's kind of annoying because while it's not in my way, I always think like, oh, I don't want to step on that when I walk through here. So I decided to finally like remove him, and he's gonna go to his loving forever home somewhere now. So I would replant, but I'm trying to focus on the gardening stuff right now while we're in the season for that. Species chicken proof. All right, going once, going twice. Sold. ISO puppy with a winning bid of $5. Oh, I should have mentioned I do feed foliage to this to my guinea pigs and my rabbits too. The rabbits don't seem to like it as much as the guinea pigs do. It's one of those things where I think they're like, "Ooh, this is something new," and they'll eat it a lot. And then if I've left it there for like if I try to give them branches of it multiple days in a row, they just kind of get tired of it. The guinea pigs aren't exactly quite like that. All right, here's something from Mason, I guess. We have a one Catalpa speciosa starting bid of $1 in northern. You don't have to sell it. We have one northern Catalpa seedling that I removed that was supposed to go to somewhere I was supposed to move to. But I am not moving to that place anymore. So instead of leaving the seedling there, I decided to weed the seedling. So I think this is only 1 year old, and it's like almost as thick as my pointer finger because it was pampered last year. So it went from a seedling to like 4 feet tall or something like that very quickly. So here's an X. Everybody, including me, laughing. But if you want a jump on having a Catalpa, here you go. He's ready and raring to go. I should have had is it Catalpa grandiflora? I did prop some seeds of Southern Catalpa, bignonioides. I need to get that growing, but I dried them out over the winter because I brought them into the garage. I germinated them late. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Mason with a winning bid of $2. Excellent. Okay. Next up we have just oregano. I don't know what type. I don't know. Like Joe threw a bunch of them in his front yard. One big oregano. Oreganum. Starting bid of $1. It's just whatever this is. He has this growing in his rock garden down by the road, and he put a bunch of different oregano varieties down there. So I don't know what type it is, but they have come up from seed all over the place. And you kind of get to see some have different flower colors. Some of them have taller flowers, shorter ones, bigger, longer bloom period, whatever. Please tell me why I want this. I have a huge tree and I hate it. This is Laura. That's so funny. I like catalpas. I will plant southern catalpas, or at least a southern catalpa when I move. But here you go. Here's the oregano. It's a huge plant. If you get this in the ground and you take good care of it, you will have infinite oregano like this summer. Unless you decide to do something like make oregano pesto, which I don't know why somebody would make pesto out of straight up oregano, but to each his or her own. Here's an X. One big, because it is big. It's a big old oregano. Look at that. Again, just bury it halfway and you're going to have infinite catalpa sphinx moths. So yeah, that's a good point also, Moss fan. No, somebody do a non-negative bid. Anybody, please. Going once. Going twice. Sold. Oh, I didn't type sold in. Sold. To Stanko. I thought I typed sold. Stanko, the winning bid of $2. Stanko, you get some premium Joe's Front Yard seed line oregano. Congrats. All right, we're getting into the final things here. I need to look this up. Prunella Mission Flora. Because I want to, let's see what the current. I guess they don't make a distinction. This is Prunella vulgaris. Indian Springs. Is it Metro Park? Indian Springs Metro Park. So this is the, I guess there was some talk that they might split this into two different species, but this is the native genotype of Prunella vulgaris. So it's not crazy weedy and it's not sprawling, it's clumpy. It'll take a good amount of shade. It's also edible. Doesn't really have a flavor, but it's reputed to have medicinal value, what have you, but I like it. This is all from seed that seed from an individual I collected in Indian Springs Metro Park that was being trampled to death on the trail, and it's made a good number of little babies around the front yard. It likes kind of a light shade, light sun, kind of like right in the between. Doesn't really care for deep shade, but doesn't really like full sun either. Quite a vigorous grower. You could split this up and have a couple of clumps of it if you wanted to. Here's an X, and of course, usually when you see it in lawns and weedy places, it's the non-native ecotype that's glabrous. Also, the leaves are glabrous, more shiny looking, and they have a slight tomentose, a little bit of fuzziness, just a touch of fuzziness to the leaves. All right, going once, going twice, sold. To Amos with a winning bid of 5. All right. As we come into the home stretch. Where the goodies are really hiding, I would say. Let's see. We have yeah. So this is still exciting. I think we've gone through more of the rank and file stuff. We have this is the last group of this. We have 5+ Arcanthemum. The masses demand more Parkville sunchokes. I'm gonna have to tell Joe. I might grab some from his yard and make individuals available in a couple of weeks, so we can get them into more people's hands. We have another group of Arctic daisies, the Arcanthemum arctimum. Again, I've already given my pitch for them. I think they're a great candidate for a rock garden. They bloom at a weird time. It's an interesting thing to say that you have Arctic daisies. It's very interesting. Let me find the picture. And again, weird that the centers of the flowers are green. It's kind of a weird thing. Some of the Google Images pictures show them as being more yellow, but this stock is definitely more like of a greenish yellow, which is weird. So I like them. I wonder if you can make a tea out of it like people do with chamomile, because it's arctanthemum, and aren't chamomiles chrysanthemums, or they're close to that? Metricaria or something. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Laura with a winning bid of Fora. Fora by Laura. Okay, now let's really get into this fun stuff. We have two pads. Opuntia cespitosa, Central Michigan genotype, starting bid of. Next up, one turfgrass seed from Kyle's local Lowe's. So there's an eBay seller when I was like, ooh, I want to grow cold hardy cactus. There's an eBay seller back in like 2012 or 2013 who was selling cold hardy cactuses, and she just so happened to be in Michigan. And what she told me was there was some new road or freeway they were developing somewhere in central Michigan where they were clearing out a bunch of whatever scrubland environment, oak barren, whatever, that had a bunch of opuntia in it, and she was grabbing as much of it as she could to sell to get into people's hands, but also, and then, propping it for herself. So it just so happens that this random eBay person had Michigan genotype cespitosa, so which has only recently been distinguished from humifusa. So cespitosa has beautiful red/orange, more like a orange red, but whatever. It's a deep colored centers to the flowers with bright yellow outer petals. Humifusa has the all yellow flowers, which is the one that's normally been sold when people see cold hardy cacti. It's usually Humifusa, and has been for decades up until recently. So Michigan genotype cespitosa, love it a lot. Great dude. Have had these a long time, and I hope to continue to have them forever. But here you go. Two paddles. They will root. You just split it up and make it into two plants. This is your cactus longhorn beetle food supply. Bye. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Let's see. Somebody posted the picture, of course, after everything, but that's fine. Sold to ISO Puppy with a winning bid of 17. Again, absolutely beautiful. One of Michigan, pride of Michigan wildflowers. Winning bid of 17. Don't fret too much. Maybe I will have more available, although I really should prop some to the side for myself for when I move also. Next we have three Mentha canadensis Perry Moon nursery stock, starting bid of $1. This is I have worked with and failed with and tried out and blah 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 with at least 20 mints in my life so far since 2013. Strawberry mint, apple mint, ginger mint, banana mint, cool lime mojito mint, Kentucky Derby kernel mint, all the spearmint, peppermint, all these things. I worked with tons of different mints in my life. The random Arvenses you find off the side of the road in my lifetime, I have not found any mint come close to the flavor profile of this Mentha canadensis that came from Prairie Moon Nursery in like 2013 or 2014. It's sweet, it's uplifting, it's bright, it's minty. It's bar none. It makes the best mint anything out of anything I've had. It's not sharp or overpowering like you get with spearmint or peppermint sometimes. So this is so far in my life my absolute favorite mint with no competition. There's nothing that even comes close in my opinion. It's in a rank of its own. It's up here, and then all the other mints I compare relative to each other down here, and this thing stands head and shoulders above the rest. Oh, well. Okay, there we go. I don't even know if they still sell it, is the other thing. They might. But it came as a bare root plant, and then I seeded a little bit in some places, but mostly was doing vegetative propagation of it. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Chris Sniper with a winning bid of 25. I think my favorite drink with this is and our highest winning bid at the plant auction yet. I think my favorite drink with this is this, and then to steep steep hibiscus flowers with it, like make a tea and steep the hibiscus flower for color, and then a touch of honey, and it just hits the right spot, hot or cold. Jose Nunez says, I have no green thumb, so I'm here to see what plant will unfortunately fall into my hands. All right. Next, we have three tubers of Apios americana triploid heritage project, starting bid of $1. There was an old eBay seller back in 2013 who was working on making and finding more productive groundnut varieties, and so this was one of those. The project did not have a name at the time, but he was just, I don't know, he was just going on there and saying these are the ones I've collected. I've tried some stuff from seed, etc. But these are triploid, so their flowers are sterile, so they bloom for a long time. But they're a good producer in a bunch of different soil types. I've grown them in shade, in sun, in moist soils. Joe's got them growing in dry soils. So they're a good, consistent performer under a bunch of different conditions. So, and these are small for the tuber size because Joe was using the bigger ones for putting other places. So, but here's a couple if somebody wants to try them out. And again, it's triploid, so the flowers are infertile. The flowers are also edible. Forgot to say, the tubers are edible. Tubers are edible, and the flowers are edible. All right, here we go. Also interesting, apparently all the Apios americana in the state of Michigan is all triploid and doesn't actually set seed, which is very interesting. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. Could be Ugg Fine, could be Chris. Let's see. Ugg Fine with a winning bid of 16. Nice one, Ugg. Winning bid of 16 to Ugg Fine. Okay. Gotta really choose what our last thing is gonna be. Okay. Requested, we have another phenomenal fig. One green cutting of ficus. Phenomenal, starting bid of $1. So this is a dwarf sport of Chicago Hardy. And fig cuttings, again, I'm told root very easily, so should be straightforward. The bug auctions. Nah, homie, you're thinking about the plug auction. This is the plug auction. That's our final. We can do that one next. Then we'll do that one. We'll do that one too. We have another cutting coming up next. Here's an X for the phenomenal cutting. And Joe will be happy. I will be happy because again our potatoes are paid for. So maybe some of those expensive Oikos potatoes will find their way to a future auction and you guys can get in on it on the perennial disease resistant high yield potato varieties coming from Oikos. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Barnacle with a winning bid of 11. Barnacle's going to grow a phenomenal. How phenomenal. Poor Mason, just a little too late. Winning bid of 11 to Barnacle. Okay. That should be fine. It needs to harden off a little bit. We have one unrooted cutting Elaeagnus multiflora. Named variety, but can't remember it. Starting bid of $1. I could see this going up to about $5. If you guys have never heard of gummy berries, that sucks because Joe planted gummy berries in his yard and they love his soil. They've been no work and they produce fruits that are like 2 to 3 times as big as autumn olive fruits, and they mature in I think June or July, so long before autumn olive matures, and they're like Sour Patch Kids. Like it's crazy that the fruits on these things are like Sour Patch Kids. They're so tasty and nobody knows about them basically. So if you've ever tried autumn olive fruits and you like those, you will love these. So Kyle, I'll do $10 if you want to grab me a cutting before you ship my box. I'd have to ask Joe if he's got any more cuttings. No, I am doing things at the moment. I'd have to ask him because I went in and grabbed whatever off of his plants, but I'll have to ask him if he's got more. Is this a good variety though? This is whatever the one that I ate and was like, I love these. I cannot live without these. I will grow these. So 11. Hey, oh, so jeez. Okay, here's an X. Don't go too crazy. It is a this year's growth cutting too. It is a greenwood cutting. So and there's a little bit of the base of the other stuff. Would this implode in Texas? I don't think so. I don't think so. In northern Texas, it likes like dry, sandy soils. So, all right, going once, going twice, sold. To Chris Sniper with a winning bid of 14 for the gummy berries. The gummy berry cutting. Again, if you put it in like well-drained but moist soil in the shade somewhere, I think you should be able to get this to root. Joe and I are working on propping some cuttings at his place. He has this big hydro tank, so it's got a basin underneath it, and then it's got a bunch of clay balls above it, and then the water level in there is kept like maybe 2 inches below the top of the clay balls. And basically Joe will just like stick a cutting of anything in there and then just wait and see like what happens. So he's rooted a bunch of stuff pretty easily that way. So we stuck a bunch of gummy cuttings in there to see what will happen. Okay, we have at least, what's that, 3 Helianthus annuus Parkville Hydra, starting bid of $1. So I grow an annuus in my front flower pot off of my porch every year. That's 14 for Chris. I just grow an annual sunflower there every year. I started with, when I moved in here, I did Velvet Queen and then a couple of other, I did Velvet Queen, I think is Velvet Queen, and then a couple of other multi-flowered varieties. And then at some point I brought seeds back from Texas, from Texas. Brought seeds back from Texas, and maybe also some seeds from feral plants near the dunes in western Michigan. And so I've just kind of made this soup of annuous genetics, and then basically I say like, okay, whatever seeds into the pot is what I'm gonna is my stuff to play with. So I usually have like 2 to 3 plants a year, and then I just kind of, when they start to flower, if they're going to look like they're going to be more, and there's also some Russian Oiler, there's some Russian Oiler genetics thrown in too, because my neighbor planted a bunch of those one year, so there's a bit of influx of that. But basically I select for early flowering, long flowering, so early to late, the number of heads, so making sure that each individual is like constantly flowering, has a ton of heads, and the cold hardiness and just general like survivability, because I don't save seed from it. I just let it seed into the pot, and whatever drops in and seeds directly into the pot is my next year's stock that I work with. So those are my dudes. I was saying I see this, and I only to own something named Annuus. Oh, anus. It's Annuus. I gotta edit that. It's Annuus. Edit spelling. All right. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Amos. Okay. Not quite as popular as I thought they would. And US. I was rushed. Okay. Not quite as popular as I thought they would be, but maybe in the future I'll start selling seeds of it. But I like having something that flowers as long as possible in those pots. And it used to be a mixed pot, and I would have some other stuff in there, and then I just grown so fond of my little sunflower project that I let it take over. Now, speaking of projects, we have another. This is a Kyle only creation. Get it while you can. One Monarda X, swimming in pink, starting bid of $1. So this is a better than average mildew resistant Monarda hybrid that I started from seeds collected, and it was with an ex, and we were babysitting her family's friends' golden retrievers at their house. And I saw they had a garden, and I went out and they had a bunch of different Monardas, and I found one that had really nice pink flowers, and I took some not ripe seed heads from it, hoping I would get seeds. And then that ended up being the founding stock for this. And so this gets about 2 feet tall. It has Didyma-ish size flowers. They're not as big as Didyma propers. You get like the Garden Juice Scarlets, and they're like that big. So the whole seed, the whole flowering arrangement is maybe about 2/3 the size of Didyma. But it's a nice, it's a neon pink without being too neon. Like sometimes I see flowers and the pink is just, it's too intense. It's so saturated, it doesn't even look real. So this is the next level down from that. So, and I guess you can use it for tea and stuff like that too, but it's not as good as some other varieties for that. Like Leading Lady Plum has been my favorite Monarda for tea. That's like the top tier for me. So anyways, but here you go. You can't get this from anywhere else. It's a Kyle creation. So there's an X for the swimming in pink, and that is what I call it. That is the name of it. I started doing once I got it where I wanted it. I started doing vegetative propagation, so now it's going to be standardized. So how much left? Any more figs? We have one thing left, and I'm hoping people are going to go crazy for it, because I think it's, of everything here, it's the thing I'm proudest of making available. I think so. All right, going once. Going twice. Sold. To Aiden S. Oh, Stankosaurus almost bid 29, but I think Aiden beat you. Aiden S with a winning bid of 9. Look at that jump. A winning bid of 9 beating out the 29. Wow, that is the biggest upset of this auction. As we go into our last, actually, I guess my pocket has something in it that we could do. Let me see what shape it's in. No, all the seeds are gone. Damn it. Well, I was gonna say Joe gave me there's not that many seeds in the seed pods. It's too late. Joe got some of those, the yucca filamentosa with like the genotype that has the 10-foot flower stalk that Oikos had before they stopped offering them. So I had seed from that, but we have seeds, just not much. So I don't know. We will do one thing for Mason's going to put up one group of bugs as soon as we do this last item, which I need to figure out the proper name for on Michigan Flora. Let's see. Okay, they aren't listing any variety with it, so we'll do it this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 bulbs. Allium canadense. How am I gonna label this? Dearborn, Michigan, starting bid of $1. All right, here's our last item. As other than we're gonna do one bug item for Mason after this, as ushered in by the dogs barking, I guess. This is Allium canadense collected from ball bills at the cutaway that leads down to the marsh at U of M Dearborn's natural area. And it's a very difficult plant to find. It's not that it's not common, because it can be very common in places, but it's only above ground for like a couple of months in the spring. And it's a very unassuming plant. Also, it's only like less than a foot tall, and it usually occurs in assemblages with other plants. So it's like you got all this other stuff crowding it out. But this is a variety that sets ball bills almost exclusively. So it's a top setting variety of Allium canadense native plant. I think I've seen a couple of flowers mixed in with the bulbils, but I can't really remember. But this is the tastiest garlic ever. Is the tastiest garlic ever. You can cook the bulbs, the actual bulbs. You could use the greens. Usually I cook the ball bills because I want more ball bills. I think by like their second year, an underground bulb will start producing flowering ball bills. So it takes a little bit of time to get things started. But the top, it's like the most well-rounded. What's that term for, like, isn't it like Japanese or something for like that other taste sense, like they're sweet, sour, whatever, and then there's another one. I'm gonna look this up. So like umami, that's it. Umami. This is it's got like the perfect balanced garlic taste. It's not too sharp, it's not too bitter, and it's got a nice umami like fullness to the flavor. So I'll do is I'll wait for the bulbils to pop up, and any that I'm not scattering or trying to start in a garden elsewhere or something is, I will take those and I'll cook them like you would just use like cloves of garlic. They're not tiny, but they're not huge either. Like they're not as big as the underground bulbs are. But there's usually more than enough of them for me to add them to something and really appreciate them. So, and that is our final item, because you can't find these even where they're at anymore. It's very overgrown. It seems like it's the path cut. What happened was Rick, the natural areas manager, cut a path to make a new trail to go down to the marsh, because it's a great thing for people to go and see while you're there as part of interpretation and whatnot. So after a bunch of honeysuckle and whatnot was cleared out, I think they used some sort of industrial brush hog or something to cut a good path from the main path about, I don't know, 200, 300 feet down to the marsh. And they left part of that. They obviously cut wider than they needed. So they kept maybe about a 6 to 10 foot wide stretch of that as a mulch path, and then left the other side of it to just grow whatever was going to. So they're all asters and weird native bromes that started popping up in there after all that sun was opened and all the competition was cleared away. And one of the other things were these guys. So these I collected maybe in like 2018 or 2019 and have been growing them since then. And I haven't seen them pop up there because everything started to grow and there's woody plants starting to smother things out. So they're probably there, but they're just, the grassy foliage is very hard to find. You just know the smell of the onions. John Doe says, you inspire me to go get some of these local. I know a spot. You should try the bulbils for sure. They're really good. Again, they're better than, I've only, to be fair, I've only had whatever types of garlic that I could buy store-bought as far as eating like cloves of it. I've had garlic greens and scapes and stuff like that. But out of everything, all the garlics I've had, I like this the best. So, yeah, give them a prop your own and see how it is. Did I put an X yet? No, here's an X. I had some of these at my old home. Never tried the tubers. Now there's top setting feral, like cultivated garlics, and there's field garlic and all that other stuff. But this is Allium canadense, so it's an actual native wild species of garlic and not a feral escape from cultivation or something. So, all right, going once, going twice, sold. That's such close competition there. To Stanko with a winning bid of 17. Stanko winning what I would hope, what I had hoped would be one of the most coveted items here. So, and that concludes the first ever Roach Crossing plant auction. Everybody seems to like native onions. Now that's the thing. Cernuum gives the upset tummy to a lot of people if you eat too much of it. Two roach species for roach folks. Cernuum gives the upset tummy, and I've found that the foliage it's a bit bitter. There's a bit something off about it. So I try not to eat much cernuum for some reason. Again, it just doesn't sit right with me like a lot of other onions do. But ramps are great. I want to try the other one, not Trichoccum Burdickii. I haven't found it yet, but I'd like to propagate Allium Burdickii as well. I think there's a couple of other weird little things too. There's supposedly native chives in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So that's kind of tentatively on my list too. But yeah, alliums are nice. It's nice to find some things. All right. We're going to do one bug stuff. I got to go get my copy pasta. So we're going to do one bug thing, and this is an exotic wilderness auction thing. So you're going to pay him, blah, 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 whatever. And I guess this is going to help with Mason paying for his plant stuff. Anyways, so this is Exotic Wilderness. We're doing just your standard bug stuff. We have a group of 12 plus Anadinobolus ocraceus from Panama City, Panama, 20 plus armadillo, officinalis red crush, 10 plus Platymerus radamanthus, Mambo, Tanzania, Platymerus. I can edit that. Edit spelling. Hormetica, Stromosa, Oxyhaloa adusta. So it's all of those, starting bid of $1. You've inspired me to go, okay. So yes, we are on to, we have a group of bugs here. Any takers? We're still going. Not even one bid, not even $1 bid. Anybody? Bruh. Yeah, did everybody die? Everybody came expecting plants, I guess. All right, there we go. Now we've driven up some interest here. I like the panic, the bruh from Mason. At the advent of that, the Stromosa alone are $80. It really is. So you gotta hope somebody swoops in here. Even $100 bid seems like that would be pretty good. That wouldn't be so bad. Really cool lot, just not enough space for more bugs right now. Everybody's recovering from the Bugapalooza. So be careful what you wish for. Putting up lots of stuff. I have a feeling if I put an X, more people will be interested. So I'm gonna put two things. I'm gonna put an X, and then I'm gonna put a timer for 2 minutes. Is what I'm gonna do, or stopwatch rather. So at 2 minutes we'll start. 2 minutes. I will start wrapping things up. So we'll do this. All right, Behijiger swept in to offset the panic that Mason may have been feeling in those moments. Behijiger comes in with the sledgehammer. I mean, personally, I would see. I think $100 for this group would be very, very fair. I think, if anybody's thinking about it from me, not as if I have a direct interest in this situation per se, but if I had, the freaking Platymerus, people clamor for Platymerus sometimes. I only want the millipede. Someone split with me. Oh, did I spell it wrong? I did. It's Oxyhaloa. Or do another Oxyhaloa. There we go. I will allow a split. Mason will allow splits. All right, we're at 1 minute. In one more minute, or rather in about 50 seconds, I will begin the countdown. And Mason is allowing splits, everybody. So Behijiger has upped the ante to $50, and we have about 25 seconds left here. Start cutting down in chat. All right, we've got 10 seconds. All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, I think there we go. I think Behijiger just got the steal. Oh, no, Love with Scales got the steal of a lifetime with $73. 3-2 sold 1-0. Did I say sold before I did the full countdown? Guys, I am moving, so DM me if you want good deals. Did I say sold when I said 3, 2, 1? Did I actually say that? I'm not used to having a stopwatch when I'm counting things down. but it seems like that was the end of things. Anyways, Love with Scales was the winner. So yeah, getting a really good deal on that. Maybe Love with Scales, talk to Mason, and you can. No, I just sent when you were between. Oh, it's probably your internet. Yeah. Anyways, so yes, thank you all for participating. You have paid for. You guys have definitely paid for Joe and I's fancy perennial potatoes, and also for a good portion of my gardening day purchases. So thank you, everybody. And I don't know who our biggest spender. Probably Stankosaurus. Let me do a sort real quick. Data sort by winner. I think it was probably Stankosaurus. Yeah, just beating out Chris Sniper. But so unfortunately, nobody has qualified for free shipping. Unfortunately, but that's the way the cookie crumbles here. So, all right. So send me emails as soon as possible so we can square things up. Again, shipping and handling. Just shoot me your zip code or whatever is likely going to be $10 to $20 because of this crazy world that we live in right now. I'm not going to charge any handling costs. Everything's already packed up basically. So things are getting slapped in priority boxes and getting sent out as soon as possible so that you guys get them before the foliage starts to die and fully decay. So, okay. Thank you everybody for attending the first ever plant auction. I hope that it was good. I hope it was something different. And I must say I'm not really discouraged from doing this again. Maybe I'd curate the list a little bit, and maybe do it hurry it up a little bit more. Oh, it's only about 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's not so bad. I was hoping only 2 hours, but I like to blab. So okay, everybody. Thanks again. I will look forward to hearing from the winners, and we'll be in touch. Probably a summer auction coming up once I get back to work on bug stuff. So may your gardens ever be bountiful, everybody, and I will see you around.